Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you've clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. Welcome back to another week that was on Pokemon Masters X. It's been a busy one. We've had the Champion Stadium in the Kanto region, we've had the continuation of the Curious Tea Party event, we've had Regirock return in the Legendary Arena, we've had the Battle Villa reopen, we've had an egg event for Grass, Poison and Ghost types, so it's making my head spin just thinking about it. And of course, we've had the riddles, which have teased my brain so much I've completely forgotten all about them. So let's get into the Champion Stadium before this car crash gets any worse! So my runs through the Champion Stadium, I don't do them as strictly free to play. I try to use only units that are available in the general pool, or use them as much as possible and not just be like, oh, just use this unit that was only available for a month and this was 2 years ago. So they're units that I would expect most people to have most of, with the occasional rare units sprinkled in there just for a bit of variety or because it makes it so much easier. So in round 1 this week, your condition is a move gauge boost. I was taking on Agatha for this one. She was weak to ice types, so my team was Alolan, Sandshrew and Steven, Kyurem and Getsis and Skylar and Swanna. Having just said I don't tend to use limited units, there's one straight away in Summer Steven. What can you do though? So I went for Agatha for this one because if you're using Kyurem 4-bar move, that's going to take up a lot of move gauge every time. And it was a toss-up between this and the special attack reduction that comes a few rounds later. So for the conditions for this one, I wanted stats reductions on because that can feed into Kyurem's sync move. I also wanted status conditions because I wanted to get maybe a little bit of freezing out of that. I got absolutely no freezing, so that was a waste. But anyway, I think I need to regrid my Sandshrew a little bit. Ice Shrew, as I'm probably going to call it through the rest of the video, because I was expecting this one to be kind of easy because he's the premier ice striking type, but it wasn't. But you start off raising Ice Shrew's stats. You're doing either Glaciate or Noble Roar with Kyurem. With Skylar, you're doing Take Flight, and then she gets the first sync move as well. After that, she's going to be moving on to Gust. She'll probably need to potion herself a couple of moves after her sync move as well, because she takes some big hits from Golbat. With Steven, you should be into a stage where you're using Icicle Crash. With Kyurem, you can use Mahaha or Noble Roar. Noble Roar also reduces stats, so that's another reason to have that as one of your points options. Your next sync move goes to Steven. He's going to hit with that. It's going to also set Hail. That's when you use Coolest There Is, because the stats boost from that are doubled when the weather is hail. Just bear in mind that that's going to chip away at your two teammates as well. So after that, more Glaciate, more Icicle Crash. When Agatha's sync move comes along, it's going to hit pretty hard, so everyone's going to need some healing after that. You get a round's worth of grace though, because Agatha always uses Run Along directly after her sync move, so that kind of gives you 2 rounds in there to get a potion onto probably Skylar first, and then Steven, and then Kyurem if you can manage it. I always like when she uses Run Along though, because it takes health away from her Pokemon. It makes it easier to take it down. When Golbat goes down, the two sides, they're not much of an issue, and it allows Kyurem and Ice Shrew to kind of tag team their way through. In round 2 this week, you get a special attack boost. I was taking on Bruno for this one, and my team was Blue and Pidgeot, Shiny Rayquaza and Steven and Alisa and Rotom. So when you've got a special attack boost, Bruno is always a good candidate to take on with that one, because he's going to be using physical attacks. You're most likely using special attacks against him. It helps you, doesn't help him at all. So you're starting off with Smell You Later, maybe an X attack with Blue in there to get down to that first sync move. He's going to use it for that Mega Evolution, which gives you access to Hurricane. With Alisa, you're raising everyone's special attack. Thundershock if you run out. Steven is going to be your sort of main striker in this first phase. Because no one else is using the move gauge, that means he can use Dragon Ascent That's going to boost both of his defense. I was kind of thinking if Elasa goes down, I've got Steven there as a second tank to protect blue for a little bit longer. But that sync move is going to do a lot of damage. You put a breathtaking onto blue afterwards. That's going to boost his accuracy even more, makes that sync move even more powerful because I've got him gridded with that tile. Hurricanes all the way through. Second sync move goes to blue again. It's going to take out Bruno. It's going to take out one of the sides. It's just going to leave Ariados there with a little bit of health. And one attack more, maybe two, is going to swap that bug. In round 3, you get a special attack reduction. So I was taking on Lorelei for this one. She was weak to grass types. And my team was Brendan and Sceptile, Erica and Leafeon and Dawn and Torterra. So this is a sun team. You've got Leafeon in there who can set Sunny Day. Brendan's sync move is a physical attack rather than a special attack. So I thought that special attack reduction would be an alright fit for this round. You've got Dawn and Torterra in there to tank through. Lorelei is not really using physical attacks, so your attack siphon doesn't really come into play very much. So that's why I have stats reductions as one of my points options on there. You're starting off raising defense, X speed, dire hit. You want to set the sun before that first sync move, otherwise you're kind of in an awkward situation with Erica and the move gauge. It also is going to make all of their moves a little bit more powerful. I went with Dawn and Torterra as the first sync move. I aimed it at one of the sides. The sides in this round are pretty problematic once Lorelei's lap press goes down. So you want to do a little bit of damage to them to start off with to make sure that they're not going to be too much of a pain later on. So I think I did a Leaf Storm and a Solar Blade at each side through that sort of second phase. Get down to that second sync move, set the sun again to power up Brendan's sync move. Unleash it onto the enemy, does big damage to all three. It might even take out one of the sides at this point, which is always good. Return to finish off those sides before focusing down lap press in the middle. In round 4, your condition is a sync move countdown reduction. I was taking on Lance this week with a steel type team of Gloria and Zacian, Hop and Jasmine and Steelix. So I kind of penciled this in for Lance anyway because of Gloria and her sync move and other moves being more powerful after the enemy has used a sync move of their own. And I thought, well, if it's coming quickly, that means that she's into her maximum damage a lot sooner. So you're doing Behemoth Blade pretty much the entire way through with Gloria. The only exception is just before a sync move where you use Laser Sharp Focus. That's going to guarantee the next move for her as a crit hit. Hop is doing Hop to it. Jasmine is raising defense. She also gets the first sync move for that 6x boost. It also refreshes the move gauge, gives her a bit of health back. With Hop, he's your first target because you're hoping for that free Venge boost, and if you get a Behemoth Bash in there, that can do a fair amount of damage as well. With Jasmine, you're either using Gyro Ball or you're using Clang to refresh that move gauge, and then once you get down to that second sync move, you unleash Gloria and Zacian, and probably they're going to wipe out Lance and his entire team. So good ending to the Elite Four this week. In round 5 this week, your permanent condition is a physical attack reduction. I also went for a special attack reduction. You're taking on Blue as the champion here, so he was weak to poison types, and my team was Koga and Crobat, Wallace and Milotic, and Signasuit Leaf and Venusaur. So this was kind of a variation on a poison trap, so rather than going for Viola and Masquerain for Infestation, you're going for Wallace and Milotic for Whirlpool, and that's going to do Trap as well. Wasn't quite as successful as I was hoping for, and there were various reasons for that I'll get into. But you're starting off Razor Leaf with Leaf to try and get some poison onto there. You're using X-Speed with Koga. That's going to give you evasive buddies, and everyone's going to get +1 evasion from it. With Wallace, you're putting trap onto all 3 of the enemies. Leaf sinks first for that Mega Revolution and Adrenaline, and then uses Mega Healing afterwards as well to get everyone healing. And it also gives further sync move countdown reductions, so you only have to go through like 2 phases to get to that second sync move. Guarantees it's always going to come before Executor's sync move. With Koga, you're doing more of your trainer moves to boost up stats. With Melodic, you're still doing Whirlpool because that does the most damage at this point. Koga syncs next, and it's going to do hopefully a big amount of damage. Blue's sync move comes a few rounds later. The main thing is that he gets sync cure off of it, so it's going to take poison away every single time. I kept forgetting about that, and the poison would go away, and I'd be happily doing Venoshock and things like that, and suddenly I'd look and be like, oh, Blue's not taking poison damage. Damn it. So make sure that you've got a Razor Leaf and a Poison Fang queued up after it uses that sync move to get that poison damage going again. If the poison doesn't kick in again before your next sync move, you can give it to Wallace because he gets healing off of his sync move and it will boost his health back up. Gets a fair whack of health back as well, so it's useful to have. When Blue starts attacking, Leaf Storm is the one that you want to look out for. Unless Leaf is at full health when that Leaf Storm comes along, probably going to faint. So you may want to, in that couple of times beforehand, make sure that she's at full health. Might not even save her even if she is at full health, but you never know. But from there on out, you're just sort of trying to survive and evade and do as much damage and wait for that poison and that trap to overtake the rest of Blue's team and give you another victory in the Kanto Champion Stadium. So there's another 10k point run for said Kanto Champion Stadium. We'll be back for week 3 next week with new conditions and new weaknesses on all of the Elite Four and Champion. Our Curious Tea Party has moved into its second week, so you get another key to unlock another area. I went for Ingo's one this week. I said last week I was going to, and I did. I'll probably go for Lily next week and complete the sort of top 2 out of that. We've also got our first battle challenge, which is good. It comes from Cress, and you're basically taking on the Sims. So that's Simseer, Sim Leaf, Sim Water, I'm not sure. And you've got 2 coins on offer for this one if you meet certain conditions, and the conditions are to use a Galarian type and an Alolan type, and to use a Ghost type and a Grass type. So the team I chose was Alistair and Gengar, Celine and Decidueye, and Leaf and Eevee. So Alistair is a Ghost from Galar and Celine is a Grass from Alola, so that gives you both of them in the same team. You're doing Dynamax quite early with Gengar to get that Restrain in there. That's going to power up both his moves and Celine's move. Eevee sinks first for that 6x boost. You're attacking with Leaf Blade with Decidueye after that. Hopefully you've powered up through the first round. Eevee is doing Tackle to get some flinching and also playing Medic when anyone else needs it. You're Shadow Punching with Gengar and using No Escape for those stats boosts and a free move next. So I was attacking one of the sides with Gengar, and I had Decidueye sync move at the other side because, as always with these battle challenges, once the middle faints, they come out with their big attacks. It's like, guys, if you'd have done that from the start, you'd have won this one easily. But hey, I'm not here to give you battle tips. Hopefully after that, you'll have taken out both of the sides and you can just Leaf Blade away at the middle there and get the victory and earn your 2 battle tokens. The Legendary Arena reopens this week and you've got Regirock in there. You have 3 missions to complete against him to earn a grand total of 1,000 gems. The first one is to use 3 Steel types, the second is to use 3 Galarian types, and the third is to use 3 Gym Leaders. So I'm going to get into those in a minute, but I kind of feel like this means that Regirock is going to be part of the next legendary gauntlet. So, I don't know, if you're thinking that you're going to go for a big streak there, maybe now is the time to use Regirock as a bit of practice and trial and error to see what kind of teams you're going to be using. So the first team I used was Jasmine and Steelix, Gardenia and Roserade, and Erica and Tangela. So that gives you 3 gym leaders and it gives you 1 steel type. I was very happy with this team actually. As you can see, it took me well into the second bar and gave my next team very little work to do. You start off with Jasmine raising defense, you're raising crit hit and then using Leaf Storm with Roserade, you're setting poison and trap with Tangela and then using trainer moves there. Jasmine gets that first sync move for the 6x boost. You are doing more Leaf Storm with Gardenia. You're waiting until her special attack is at -6 to use Trust in Nature. Hopefully that's the last move before the sync move, so the sync move comes in and is very powerful. Once you've used up trainer moves with Tangela, you're using Absorb. If you notice that one of the status conditions expires, you can reset those. Jasmine is either doing Gyro Ball or Clang to keep the move gauge refreshed and also to give you that crit hit shield. Through the rest of the first bar, Gardenia is getting all of the sync moves. When it gets into the second bar, the weakness switches to steel types, so then you're going back to Jasmine with those because she gets rejuvenation off of her sync move and that's very useful. When you get into that second bar, you're sort of making Jasmine your main striker. You can try doing some absorbs with Roserade and Tangela. I was a bit slack on the second one. I could have done statuses onto Regirock like 3 or 4 like sync move cycles before I did, and that would have done maybe even more damage and you could have got through the entire thing with just one team. But eventually Regirock starts doing big damage and even a tanky unit like Jasmine can't survive forever. It did set it up nicely for my next team, which was Piers and Obstagoon, Hop and Zamazenta, and Gloria and Zacian. So that gives you your 3 Galarians and it gives you your final 2 steel types. This team absolutely wiped the floor with Regirock. I did it the sort of first time around and started with this team and just completely went through all of his health. So yeah, maybe if you were doing it on the legendary gauntlet, you would put Hop and Gloria onto different teams to try and maximize what they're doing each time. But you're hopping to it to raise stats, you're hoping for free revenge. Again, Piers sinks first for that 6x boost. He's not really using Obstruct because he doesn't need to. He's not the main target there. So he's either Night Slash or Shout My Name after raising crit hit rate. With Gloria, you're just doing Behemoth Blade as much as possible. As I said in the Champion Stadium, the exception is before a sync move where you're doing Laser Sharp Focus to make sure that sync move is a guaranteed crit hit. And you will just go through this last 23% on the first bar and the entirety of the final bar. Shouldn't have much problem at all. All 3 should probably still be standing when you finish. Use potions in there to keep them topped up and just go to town with those sword and shield doggies. This week kicked off the riddles event. I thought the first one was a little bit obscure. The game literally has hundreds of blue sparkly objects that it could have been referring to, and I was kind of like, well, hopefully if I play through the game enough I'll stumble upon what it was eventually. And I'm not going to give spoilers, but after that I thought the rest of them were reasonably straightforward. Made you think a little bit and made you think it could be this or it could be this, so I'll try this first. Really, I'm just glad that it's not pretty much impossible like some previous events have been, and you can get a shed loads of rewards out of it, so that's always good. The Battle Villa reopened this week, so that means make sure you're doing your daily co-op battles. I don't know, I'm never sure about skipping halls, so I haven't yet. We've also got an egg event where you can get poison, grass or ghost types hatching out of that, so make sure you're using up your incubators as much as you can. And that's another week that was for Pokemon Masters X. Thank you very much for watching. You're well past the 90-second mark at this point, so you can take it a bit further if you want to by following me on Twitter, subscribing to the channel, liking the video. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll probably get a little tweet about the week that will be, which is next week. We'll have more on the Curious Tea Party there, anything else that comes up in the week that will be. Thank you very much for watching the week that was, and goodbye.